Welcome to News9 Mediaverse, and you are watching On Point with me. In today's edition, I will talk about the Herculean effort that is underway in Uttarakhand to rescue workers from the tunnel. At least 40 workers are trapped after a portion of the under construction tunnel from Silkyara to Dandalgaon in Uttarkashi collapsed. The incident is reported to have occurred at around a depth of 270 meters from Silkyara side of the tunnel. The state disaster response force and the police revenue teams have also been deployed to the location to aid in the relief efforts. But it's going to be a complex operation and a difficult operation. Authorities said that nearly 200 meters of the slab will have to be cleared to open the tunnel. A narrow opening has been made to insert an oxygen pipe in the tunnel and help the trapped laborers. No casualties have been reported so far. But before I take you to my subject matter experts, let me run you through the details, the fine point of this complex operation. What will it take to rescue the workers? What should be standard operating procedure? It is part of the prestigious Char Dham project. Are we playing with the morphology of the Himalayas? Is there an environmental issue? What needs to be done? Is there a precedent? What makes a tunnel rescue a very, very different operation from a mine rescue? There are a number of questions, but the most important one is the detail. And the detail is what I bring to you on the table. The tunnel is an ambitious engineering project located on Char Dham route. It's ambitious. I would say that it requires a lot of effort on part of the government of India to create an infrastructure there. Then Char Dham connects Gangotri, Yamunotri, Kedarnath and Badrinath. It's the holy landscape. There is a word in Hindi called Tirth Sthal. It connects, it makes it easier for people to go. And the tunnel is bi-directional. Let me tell you, it's 2-lane, 4.5 kilometer long tunnel. So it will be accessed from both the points, and it's being developed by NHAI DCL. And tunnel has an excavated diameter of 13 meters. That's the diameter total. Tunnel will reduce the distance from 26 kilometers to 4.5 between Yamunotri and Uttarkashi. Terrain, topography, accessibility, climate and geology pose a challenge for this tunnel construction. Most important. 90% of the tunnel is being excavated by removing phyllite rock. What is the nature of rock? We'll tell you a little later. The two ends of the tunnel are located in Barkota and Silkyara, as I mentioned in the opening. There are 40 people inside. That's the first part of it. Let me take you to the precedents. And before I start this, before we show you the detail, let me play out the bite. Let me play out the bite of the Chief Minister and the people in charge of this rescue operation.
देखिए, यहाँ पर तेजी से जो बचाव का काम है, रेस्क्यू का काम है, मलबा हटाने का जो काम है, वो तेजी से चल रहा है। और यहाँ पर चूंकि कंप्रेसर के माध्यम से उनको खाने के लिए भी जो लोग अंदर है, खाद्य सामग्री भी अंदर भेजी गई है और सभी लोग अभी पूरी तरह से ठीक हैं। उनसे लगातार यहाँ पर बात भी हो रही है, इसलिए हम आश्वस्त हैं कि जल्दी से जल्दी ये रेस्क्यू पूरा कर लिया जाएगा। और जो भी विशेषज्ञ हैं उन सभी से बात हो रही है। राज्य सरकार और केंद्र सरकार लगातार इसको लेकर गंभीर है। माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने, गृह मंत्री जी ने, हमारे रेलवे मंत्री जी ने स्वयं सभी लोगों से बात की है। माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने तो बहुत विस्तार से इस सारे घटनाक्रम की जानकारी ली है और उन्होंने हर संभव हमको भरोसा दिया है कि हम पूरी मदद करेंगे। और मैं सभी जो हमारे भाई अंदर हैं उनके पारिवारिक जनों से भी कहना चाहता हूँ कि हमारा हर संभव प्रयास है कि उनको सुरक्षित जल्दी से जल्दी बाहर निकालें। नहीं, कार्रवाई लगातार हो रही है और पूरी गंभीरता से हो रही है। हमारी सबकी पहली प्राथमिकता है कि सबको सकुशल बाहर निकाला जाए।
कल प्रातः यहाँ सिल्कियारा में NHAI DCL द्वारा एक निर्माणाधीन टनल है। यहाँ एक दुर्घटना की सूचना प्राप्त हुई और सूचना प्राप्त होते ही यहाँ पे मौके पे प्रशासन की, पुलिस की, स्वास्थ्य विभाग की टीमें और साथ ही जो हमारी रिस्पांस फोर्सेज हैं जैसे SDRF, NDRF, ITBP, हम सभी लोग यहाँ आए और यहाँ रेस्क्यू वर्क प्रारंभ किया गया और अभी भी रेस्क्यू वर्क चल रहा है जिसमें मलबा हटाया जा रहा है और इस समय शॉर्ट क्रिटिंग का कार्य गतिमान है और प्रयास यही है कि जो अंदर लोग फंसे हैं उनको जल्दी से जल्दी बाहर निकाला जाए और उनको एयर सप्लाई की जा रही है, उनसे कम्युनिकेशन के प्रयास भी किए गए हैं। तो उम्मीद है कि ये जल्दी ही सबको सकुशल निकाल लिया जाएगा।
And now let me just, to give you an understanding, let me play out a graphic for you. It's just to create an understanding that there are people inside this tunnel. And there are people inside this tunnel, so they don't have much of the space. You see, the diameter is 13 meter, you know. This is 13 meter. The tunnel is 4.5 kilometer long. But what is important here is that in this diameter, they only have a space of 400 meters. So one good thing is that the fall which has taken place, they still have 400 meters to walk, you know, so they are not cloistered together. They have 400 meters to organize themselves in that space. Please understand, when I talk about 400 meters, 60 meters of the tunnel is blocked. When I say 400 meters here in the between, it means more oxygen. If they would have been cloistered in a very small place, it would have meant less oxygen. So 20 meter of patch of blocked tunnel cleared. Now that's not much, keeping in mind how much needs to be cleared. And anyway, it's an estimate. We will come to know when the clearance takes place. That's going to be a different thing. And trapped people have buffer of around 400 meters to walk and breathe. So that's the most important part. This is the buffer, which means that this is what they have. And let me now introduce my guest. I am joined by Professor Santosh Kumar, Senior Advisor, National Institute of Disaster Management, Dr. Sudhir Krishnan, former Secretary Urban Development, Government of India, Dr. Sushil Kumar, Scientist, former Head of Geophysics, Wadia Institute of Himalayan Geology, and Sandeep Sen, author and environmentalist. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining me. Let me straight away go to Dr. Sudhir Krishnan, former Secretary, Urban Development. Sir, when we talk about a project like this, what are the SOPs which kick into action? What makes this operation different from other operation? What should be done? Because, you know, when I was looking at this news during the weekend, the closest thing which I could recall was that famous Thailand rescue. I know it's a very different thing, but the eyes of the world were set on those days when the kids were stranded inside, and the entire government of Thailand had to sort out the logistics to get those children out from there. So what is making this rescue operation different?
Well, the rescue operation, they are doing well. What I understand after watching the media, that they are doing as best as they can handle it. And we all feel that it will work out, should work out all right. But I think a lesson has to be learned from this situation. A rescue will have to be attempted for people who are trapped. But should we not work on analyzing as to why this situation happened, and should it happen, what to do, whether by which it should not happen again? I think that is far more important. Of course, lives have to be saved, is absolutely important, no doubt. But that is a very big challenge for us. I think equally important challenge is to identify the root cause of the problem and prevent. And now they are making a parallel entry from somewhere to take the people out, and I am quite hopeful that they would succeed. And there are procedures prescribed by NHAI in their own manual. There are procedures for this, and there are so I am sure that it will work out all right. A parallel tunnel is being dug, and they will be taken out. The NDRF and the SDRF and the local engineers all are working all right. So I am sure it will work out all right.
You know, the issue is why. Professor Santosh Kumar, I think at the beginning of the discussion, the why has cropped up. Do you think that the why is the principal issue here?
In fact, I would say in two ways. One is that why is very important, because when we give such kind of a tender to the high end of the whether public sector or the private sector, one, that we should ensure that if they are competent enough to carry out such kind of a work in terms of the tunneling, but they should also be equally important, and that to be checked, that whether in such kind of emergency, will they be able to handle it on their own in terms of 0 to 5 hours or something. And after that, that state agencies and the national federal forces and other would join them for rescue. This is the very, very important kind of ingredient or the indicators which we should have. Because when we do the cause and effect analysis, we will find that they are very competent in terms of tunneling. but there will not be that kind of a competence despite of the SOPs and all, that how that they will carry out the operations. So that we need to have that they should be doing when they are doing it tunneling, they should actually engage the response forces well in advance, anticipating such eventualities that it might happen, it might not happen. So if it doesn't happen, it's very fine. But if it happens, that to be supported in terms of that agreement has to be done much before the tunneling starts. So second important point at this juncture is important in terms of that saving lives. And that's the kind of initiatives which have been taken by the honorable prime ministers and all the state government, state chief minister. They all are taking extra precautions in terms of taking this saving lives of the people and all, taking all those actions which are required to do that. So the team of experts which have been constituted, they will mark the red zone and the green zone and the orange zone, and they will be helping also that the rescue agencies to carry out these operations, this operation
Professor Kumar, a lot of people
in a
would
very
not,
safe manner.
A lot of people would not understand this, the red zone, the green zone. Can you just elaborate it for our viewers when you talk about the colors in context of the zones?
Yeah, while carrying out, despite the carrying out this kind of a search and rescue operations, the team which will go there and which is there already who are doing such a rescue operation, they will find that which is the very fragile kind of an area which people should avoid during the search and rescue operations, that is the red zone. And then second is the, which we say orange zone, is a much lesser than the before, the riskier. And the third one, the green zone, is the safest zone, even in the operation site. So they will identify, they must have identified by now that which is the red zone in that area to be avoided, and what is the orange zone, little safer, and the third is the safest zone there. So when the people would be rescued, initially that oxygen supply is being done, and also that food materials which are being supplied. That should be seen also, that what kind of a food which we are supplying inside the tunnel, where what is the requirement, what is the energy requirement. Because it will take further, I think, 12 to 16 hours of time, anticipated time, what I'm saying, because the forces and the agencies and the equipments all are required, are there now in place. And also the team of scientists there who would be assessing the situation, and they would be supporting the response agencies. So this is very important. And also, the first and foremost thing is required at this point of time, when they are making this kind of a rescue operations, the communication must be established on a regular basis to the people who are affected or trapped inside, because that will help them in avoiding panic and also maintaining or managing the psychosocial or the anxiety, those who are inside. So they might be thinking many negative thoughts must be coming to their minds. So it is important from outside, those who are engaged into rescue operations, they must have constant kind of a dialogue and
so
the communication.
Professor, what's the most important thing right now? Is it oxygen?
Yes.
Is it food? Is it the morale? What's the most important thing which helps a person survive if someone is trapped in a place like this?
You're asking me?
Yes.
Yeah, this is very important. What I'm saying is the psychosocial, normally in most of the countries in the world, the first thing which moves on such kind of a rescue operations is the people who are the psychosocial specialists and the mental health providers. And the second is the physical health, because once they are taken out from the tunnel, they would also be needing that psychosocial health care, so mental trauma care and counseling, because they're inside, they are already spent the time in more than 24 hours within the tunnel. So they are not sure whether they would be rescued or not. Many thoughts must be coming to their mind. So the rescue team will ensure that these things are taken care of, constant dialogue is being maintained, and people are actually, they feel confidence inside that they would be rescued. So that will give extra confidence. And with the which you referred about the Thailand rescue operation, also that was similar kind of a thing was carried out later in India as well. So what I'm saying is that in such kind of a tunneling, the communication is very important. And on the other hand, that people, the relatives of those victims or the affected people, those who are trapped inside, must be maintained, because other side also the panic would emerge. So they would also be given the similar kind of a confidence. So idea is two ways communication. One is to the affected people who are trapped inside, and also to their relatives.
Okay.
And that touch would be maintained by the people who are really expert in the psychosocial counseling.
Okay. Now let me straight away go to Dr. Sushil Kumar, he's scientist from and former head of geophysics, Bhatia Institute of Himalayan Geology. There's a lot of debate on the Char Dham project. I'll come back to the SOP part. And the debate on the Char Dham project, are we doing the right thing? Are we doing the right thing there? How is Himalayan morphology, geology different from Alps, Andes, any other chain?
Here we have to keep in mind that in Char Dham project, this is a very ambitious project and a very important project as well to visit the Char Dham. But very important point also here, because all the rocks are soft rocks and we do any instability there. So there should be, if we are cutting the toe of the mountains, so we have to be very careful. Project is very good and very important, but at the same time, we have to keep in mind, if we are making anything unstable, so that we have to put the proper retaining walls, basically make the things stable. While otherwise, like landslide have increased, but I will not say that we should stop all the things. Char Dham project is very good. Like in this tunnel also, this Silkyara tunnel, and in this tunnel also we are having phyllite type of rocks, which basically make mud with the water. So we have to be very careful while the tunneling is fine, and what kind of the actions they are taking, that is also fine. But this is a natural disaster. I would like to say that, because if we are making things unstable, somewhere the things are basically in the tunnel, which are basically sitting on that particular part, which is collapsed down and remove the stability. So certainly the loose material will come down, because this has no hard rock. So all the material will come down, and such type of situation may occur. So we should be ready for such type of situation at least in the Himalaya, because all the rocks are soft rocks. So we have to keep in mind while making the progress in the tunnel, like we have completed the tunnel so far, half of the tunnel we have completed, dug out. So in the same situation, we have to be very carefully move ahead, as is basically measuring the stress scenario and other things, other parameters, which basically supports us, which can tell us about this part may collapse down, or the stress is increasing in this part. So such type of things must be going on.
Let me
and geophysical basically studies must have carried down. So many fractures and faults may occur there. Those may basically react while excavating the tunnel, and they may collapse down. And the fracture may occur there, and that may facilitate to collapse down such kind of material.
Okay. Let me get noted author and environmentalist Sandeep Sen. Very warm welcome to you, Mr. Sen, for joining me on my show.
Hello.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
Let me just broaden it up. We had the news on the Joshimath sinking. Then the cases from the Lansdowne came that there's a problem on Lansdowne. It's a broad question. When we talk about recreating passages and ways in Himalayas, are we playing with our environment? Are we taking an unnecessary risk? Let me just not limit this question to a tunnel right now. Just broaden it up a little.
Okay. Now I will say this, that we have to take decisions like engineers, and like modern day engineers. A politician cannot take these decisions. All over the world, wherever there is this type of tunneling, especially in the mountain areas, and the rock is soft and the terrain is difficult, there is something called a regulatory authority. There has to be a single regulatory authority who must monitor every tunnel in that area, all Himalayan mountain tunnels. And they should have an updated map, which should be digital. All these tunnels, you see, if you go back a few years, then we had this Loharinagpala hydro project, which was closed down, I think, in 2006 or something like that, the Bhagirathi River, this thing. and there were lots of tunnels over there, and then the government closed it down. But those tunnels remained. Then there was another project, I think, which in 2009 was closed down in this same area. That was where TBM broke down, and the entire tunnel digging operation had to be disbanded. I think it was a foreign multinational doing that work, and the TBM broke down. And so the basic thing is that even China, which is doing much more tunneling than us, and which is doing much more advanced tunneling than us, they faced these problems because they were trying to divert rivers a few years ago. They had massive problems, massive breakdowns. Then they overhauled their entire system. They overhauled it, and they decided that every bit of the landscape has to be digitally mapped. All the maps over there has to be done, and then they will conduct studies, and then they will take a decision on what is the best way to dig the thing. Because these are areas, where we have had incidents before, and I think the Dhami government themselves had banned all construction activity around Joshimath in January 2023, and then I think there was
But
some
Mr. Sen,
other reports.
my question is, are we playing with the Himalayan geology? My question is
Yes,
that.
we are. We are
Straight
playing
question.
with the Himalayan geology
Why?
just because we are not doing it rightly.
Why?
If we did it rightly, then see, these are technical problems. You see, you have to, if you are talking about the Himalayan geology, and if you want to exploit it fully without danger, you must have the data. You must have the fact that wherever you are doing the tunnel, today all these tests can be done remotely. It can be done that, okay, if I have this total map terrain, and if I know all the existing tunnels, and if I know all the existing weak points, and I know the soil condition, that this, for example, this here, the soil condition is such that they are just saving 26 kilometers of road they are saving with 4.5 kilometers long tunnel. Does this give a proper ROI? I don't know. If the soft soil is there, then I think the risk is too much. So maybe some tunnels are very much required, but some tunnels can be avoided. So we must understand that the Himalayan area is sensitive, and there are risks also. And if we have to do it, then we have to modernize our approach towards the subject.
Okay.
So that is all I am saying. I am not saying that you stop tunneling. I am saying modernize it, put engineers in the decision-making position, and make them talk with data. Everything should be worked out before. China did it, and China is today going ahead at a very high speed in tunneling, and they are also doing in the Himalayan reach.
Okay.
Also.
I think, I'll frame the question differently to Dr. Sudhir Krishna. Dr. Sudhir Krishna, the issue is likely this. In last 10-15 years, both the state of Uttarakhand and Himachal Pradesh, I'll come back to you, Mr. Sen, have seen lot of construction, whether it's the widening of the roads, whether it's tunneling. There's a debate. Why do you need to provide so much of access to those areas which are vulnerable? There is a debate. There is a model of development which can be very different. For example, the way Bhutanese development, it's a restricted model, doesn't allow a lot of people to come in. And there's a debate. In this monsoon, I think every one of you must have seen the way parts of Shimla highway collapsed. The train system collapsed there, what happened in Uttarakhand. So are we doing a little more than what should have been done in terms of infrastructure development?
I think you have raised very important point, and so have the previous speakers. I would say that there are many approaches available, but we have to put them together. For example, there is a national mission on sustaining the Himalayan ecology. There is a national mission on Himalayan studies. There are Bureau of Indian Standards available for tunneling work, tunnel safety, tunnel boring, and mechanical tunneling. All these things have to be put together in a unified format. Now, what is happening is that there are national authorities which are doing work in Himalayan area. National authority means like NHAI and big power company like NHPC Limited, or even private sector companies reporting directly to ministries of the government of India. Whereas the state governments, they have to look after their localized planning. The land use planning is a local subject, state subject. But these authorities are not supposed to get approval from the state authorities, because as things are, government of India and their entities, they have got the privilege not to seek approval. Railways or NHAI, they don't have to take approval from state government in general. So state government has their own plan. As I said, that there are Ministry of Environment has got programs, and these things are not being put together. Everything is available, but we have put together. That is one thing. Secondly, as one of the speakers said earlier, Environment Ministry has got about 4 authorities, I think. Zoo Authority, and there is an authority on Tiger Conservation Authority, Biodiversity. I think the Himalayan ecology and sensitivity, it requires an authority. Why? Because the large scale projects which are impacting the whole Himalayan area. We think of only one tunnel, but the entire system is shaken, entire Himalayan area. Plus, it is susceptible to earthquake and tremors also. So all put together, I think we cannot let a department or an entity undertake a project in isolation. Their authority, there has to be a national authority for Himalayan area, which must combine all the available standards, BIS standards, Environment Ministry standards, and so on and so forth, all put together, and it must take charge of every project in that area. Himalayan area shall be subject to approval by that authority, and that authority will be something like Lokpal or something, independent of day-to-day intervention of any government, whether state or central. It is high time, I think. We have technology. Luckily, we have got beautiful, best technology through our ISRO and other, geology department and so on. All data is available, methodologies are available. Only we have to put together and make a framework, because the most fragile area in the country is the Himalayan area, more fragile than coastal area. So it has to be given attention now. And last point I will say now is that we need not rush to connect, in rush to reach a religious place. Why should there be such a great hurry to have a high speed, you should take your SUV and rush to Badrinath or rush to Kedarnath.
Absolutely, I can come with you, sir. Absolutely. No, you please complete your point. I completely agree with you. I mean, it's a pilgrimage, you're not going to a tourist site. Mr. Krishna, please complete your point. Mr. Sudhir Krishna, please complete your point.
So I was saying that, as you rightly, I have been to Bhutan and the Tiger Hills. The pleasure you get, ultimate pleasure of trekking and then reaching the religious place is far more satisfying than taking your SUV and driving down right up to Sanctum Sanctorum. Given a chance, we would reach the Sanctum Sanctorum of a temple through our SUV. I don't think that is a real religious, trip. We should have a lot of devotion in mind rather than rushing through and modernized development as far as religious place is concerned. And why it is not only that, the thing is that we are doing it at the cost of Himalayan ecology. As much respect we have to have for the religious places like Badrinath and Kedarnath, similar respect, or if not more, similar respect we should have for our Himalayan region also. These are also our place of respect, and our attention, they deserve our attention and care as much as the temples and so on require. I don't think we should be developing these highways at the cost of ecology at all. High time has come. We are seeing one after the other. There is no end to incidents. And I think it is high time we take stock of this. There should be a national debate, followed by discussion in the parliament, followed by constitution of a Himalayan authority, Himalayan ecosystem authority, which is the call of the time now before it becomes too late.
Professor Santosh Kumar, before I come back to the issue of tunneling, there are two things here, and I'm trying to make this discussion holistic. One is that there was Char Dham project was sold, it was, I understand every political party does it. It sold it like a political dream. Then you had the border reality issue in which, we had to connect our borders. But then one thing has become very clear in last 10-15 years is that there is a strain which the Himalayan ecology can take, and there is a strain which the Himalayan ecology cannot take. Now, when we talk about Himalayan ecology, how different is it from the rest of the world? Can it afford this tunneling, sir? Like Andes or the Alps or Karakoram?
It's very interesting when we talk about this Himalayan ecology. Recently, we had a kind of a national workshop in Nainital where all the Himalayan states were represented. And this year before last, also National Institute of Disaster Management had conducted similar workshop and talked at discussing about the Himalayan disasters, Himalayan ecology, Himalayan sustainability, and what Dr. Sudhir Krishna has mentioned. I'm very much agreeing with his point of that how we require, and there was also a recommendation that we need to have a kind of an institution or authority of a system which can actually monitor the whole progress of the Himalayan states. Very important. What I'm saying that Himalayan state is we can say the life of the this life temple. It's a life temple. If this gets disturbed, the plane will not be the in safer conditions. The river, all the rivers and the flow and everything, Ganges and all are flowing from the Himalayas. So if we disturb Himalayas in a different way, so what I can say that things to be done, but it should be done in a very controlled and designed manner so that it should not damage the humanity at all. So the point which you are taking that how that Himalayan ecology could be maintained, many parts of the world it has been done, but it has been done with the big care. Like when we are making such kind of a tunnel and the DPR, when we are developing, at that time we require a detailed investigation report in terms of the whether we talk about environmental impact assessment, whether we call social impact assessment. Because if I'm not saying that large number of people will come, this is one thing that we are giving a pathway. But the second part, if this today 10,000 people are visiting to say these sites, tomorrow 10 lakhs people will visit to the site. So idea is to how to accommodate. They require a hotel, they require a place of stay, they require many more amenities. So idea is to the tunnel should not be seen in isolation. The tunnel should be seen in a kind of a full year. Like the point which was emerging in the workshop also, that glaciers are also melting very fast, 1.5 degree climate change, which we have already mentioned. So what kind of an impact it would create on the glacier and then Himalayas and to the river of the plains. So holistically, when we see that what development is needed and innovative, so we can go with the identification of two ways. What are non-negotiables? So in the Himalayas, which we are taking, we can list it out and we can say that these are non-negotiable. It should not take place, must not take place. And other are negotiables. Yes, that can be taken with the due precautions and that should be made. So point which I'm trying to make is this, that if such kind of a development, definitely it is needed, but idea is to also build capacity parallelly. Parallelly in the sense the tunnel is safer, and if such kind of accident happens, you also have a kind of a system and the capacity to.
Can you just tell me, sir, can you just tell me how safe phyllite rock is not supposed to be very stable? Is it the right place to go for a tunneling?
We have our geologist friend, so he can mention about that.
I'll go to him. Yes, Dr. Sushil Kumar, is that the right place to go for tunneling? Phyllite?
I will say that the whole Himalaya is just on soft soil. Means here we are making the tunnel. All is just phyllite slopes. Like I already said that with the water they made mud. So everything is possible. But we have to apply because all the modern methods are available. And hopefully, once the government or the organizations or the agencies, they consider to build a tunnel here to reduce the 26 kilometer to 4.5 with a 4.5 kilometer tunnel. So I will say that the all kind of steady environment, like or every morphology of that area, kind of faults are passing there. all the reports basically they add in that and consider for tunneling. Not like that they have started the tunneling there. So all the permissions from different departments they consider, they take, and everything is possible nowadays. All methods are available, all sophisticated techniques are available, all algorithms are available. Those will be helpful to make these tunnels.
But you
So
see,
with the modernizations, we
Dr.
can do,
Sushil,
but
the
we have
issue is,
to keep.
accidents can happen anywhere. But accidents happen when people are saying that this is an accident-prone place, and the accident happens. Then there is a question. No one can say that accident will not happen. They will happen. That benefit of doubt will need to be given to the government of India.
You have to consider one thing. Like if we are making the all-weather roads there in the Himalaya, so all-weather roads are possible to make, and not to increase the crowd there. To make to facilitate, because those small roads are not basically eligible for travel. So this is okay, and government can put a ban on that. Only this much of travel vehicle will travel, like it happens previously also for Kedarnath and other places. Like the only this much of vehicle will go to Badrinath. So government can constrain that, and this kind of widening is possible. But all the precautions need to be taken and to be checked properly. This is important, because we know that this comes under seismic zone 5. So in this area, all the constructions like in Joshimath happened, like 5-manzil hotel and 5-story hotel. So we have to consider the area, if soil is sustainable to take this kind of load or not. So we have to check the quality of soil. We have to see the scenario of our fault system there in the Himalayan region, in that part particularly. So all the things, all the points need to be considered before basically they must have considered, but all safety measures, all precautions, all kind of testing, these are needed basically for such type of sophisticated tunnels.
Okay, okay, Mr. Sen, what do you think will be the wake-up call, and as very rightly pointed by Dr. Sudhir Krishna, for people to understand that Himalaya needs to be treated as one ecological entity? Big projects should be seen differently. They should be evaluated by a single authority who have expertise in a lot of things.
See, I basically think that it has already started. The Joshimath thinking is the start point. And
can you please unmute yourself? Can you please unmute yourself? Yeah.
And that I think has already started, and we will have to take heed someday that what is happening, this Tapovan Vishnugad project.
Absolutely.
Was it flawed? What is the problem? Why are there 80 small and large projects in Himachal and Uttarakhand area? There are 80 of them which are under consideration. Some are half built, some are in the project stage. Why is this so much? Why is such a concentration of this thing? There has to be one regulatory authority who has to say, okay, this much, not more than this much. Okay, this is the importance of the project, we go in for this. But if this is the importance of the project, if it is just reducing 26 kilometers driveway to 4.5 kilometers, then no. And especially if it is soft rock. So there has to be somebody who has to take a decision, and one person, one regulatory authority should take a decision, and that regulatory authority should be technically competent, should be coordinating with all the other 12 agencies in Uttarakhand and this Himalayan region. You know, I think there are 12 like that which monitor that area, different I mean different responsibilities are there. So there should be one regulatory authority who does all these things, and entire planning should be digitized. That is the most important thing, that unless full terrain mapping is done, digitization, all the 12 projects which have been abandoned, how many tunnels have been half dug, how many tunnels have been this thing, all that mapping has to be done. And
you're talking about tunneling. That's a very important point.
Collapse has started.
Professor Santosh Kumar, if you recall the Joshimath sinking, even in that case, the tunneling was involved. People forget that.
Yeah. Actually, we recently done that's all the this post-disaster damage and need assessment in Uttarkashi, also in Himachal, and also in Assam, many of the hill states, and we found that the fragility has definitely increased and multiplied manifold. And this we need to treat this also. Just one that we found the highways is one that most of the highways have collapsed in the disaster report we have seen. The second important thing which we have seen in caving, so that in caving is also happened to the infrastructure where you have the infrastructure up there, but inside that there is no land. So that kind of in caving has to. So we need to identify the intensity of rains, intensity of that we say the cloud burst. It will not be the same in the times to come, which is the result is already is being seen now that climate change is having a high intensity flood, high intensity cloud burst, how intense, high intensity rainflow, this rainwater flow. So that we need to incorporate these things into our own DPR. So that program is there. We can do that kind of a work also if it's important, maybe for strategic importance or maybe for development or for any. That's not refraining us in taking those things. But idea is to how to make sure that these things are taking due consideration of other factors as well. We are saying again and again, what my feeling is this, that what NIDM is also saying that important is that it should be seen as a very integrated without making much distinction between the foothills and also the hills. The whole of the lives of the foothills depends on the lives of the hills.
Correct.
The flow, upstream flow comes from the downstream, and there is a kind of linkages between the Himalayas and the lives on the plains. So the idea which has been mooted out that institutional system and mechanism should be created, and there should be seen as a kind of what is negotiable and what is non-negotiable.
Professor Kumar, can I just take you back to that the issue of the trapped workers? In your opinion, how much time will will the agencies take to rescue them? Let me just come back to this operation, because now if the movement to clear 20 meter takes a day, I think it's going to be the days we are counting.
Initially, it may take much higher time when you start the tunneling and you are also trying to actually penetrate and reach out to the people who are trapped there. But in due process, the time would start reducing. And so my calculation, since I am not there at the scene, so I'm not able to understand at how much they've been able to do and what are the equipments they've already brought in. But understanding and reading and all the information which we have gathered that how this is going on, these all operations, I'm saying that 12 to 14 hours minimum it will take to at least to clear it out, so that clear it out in terms of that start taking out people from the trapped area to the safer area. Because 35 hours you have said that already taken place.
Basically, you don't need to clear the whole tunnel. You need to create a passageway. No, if I have to make it understandable for a viewer, you're not clearing the tunnel. You are creating a passageway to get them out.
Exactly, to take them out. And the idea is that also that continuation of during that process, the giving the services, lifeline services in terms of the oxygen and the minimum food requirement. Not saying that high intake energy kind of a thing should go, like the very eatable things like chocolates and other thing which is prescribed by the nutritionist there who is conducting out the operations there. So that should be given so that people can survive inside, and with the moment they are coming out, they should also be given a kind of a support services where that they are traumatized, they will come out and they will look for their relatives, they're inside that they're into high trauma and anxiety. So outside also, the team should be ready at the rescue operation site where the safer area, that the people start indulging them with the trauma counseling. And then also that they can get connected with the relatives of the people. So these two ways. One is that providing services to the affected people, those who are under the trap. And also that if they are coming out, they should immediately get in touch with their relatives and the dear ones of the family. So just now taking out from the victim's place, that affected place, will not work much. So immediately, if we want to go for faster recovery, we need to work in that way. So that is that. The machines and equipment, plus I'm told that many of the experts, they have already at the site, they have visited, the team have been, the Honorable Prime Minister has monitored it, Honorable CM is monitoring it. So I'm sure that the NDRF and even the Army, we have that last resort. So all combined efforts with the civil administration locally available, they would be able to carry out these operations.
Okay.
I think very quickly, maybe I can say that that 12 hours to 16 hours max.
Okay. So basically you're saying within 12 hours to 16 hours, the operation can succeed in creating a direct link between those who are trying to rescue them and those who are trapped inside. But I think there are bigger questions, which is ecology versus development. Specifically, second is Himalayan ecology. The third issue is the ambitious Char Dham and the other strategic affairs project which are taking place in Himalayas. And is this tunneling project just an example? You know, accident can take place anywhere. But the fact is that, are we doing too much of infrastructure development in Himalayas? Well, that's a question which I would say rests with the experts. But of what we see is that Himalayan ecology is pretty fragile. In this program, I leave you with the bites of those who are involved in this rescue project, those who are actually working 24/7 to rescue people. Please listen to them.
देखिए, करीब 40 मजदूर के आसपास फंसे होने की संभावना व्यक्त की गई है और जो राहत एवं बचाव कार्य है वो सभी जो टीमें मौजूद है और एजेंसी अभी पुलिस के साथ साथ SDRF, NDRF, आर्मी, ITBP और इसके साथ साथ जो टेक्निकल एक्सपर्ट है वो टीम और उनकी मशीनरी मौजूद है। देखिए, अभी राहत और बचाव कार्य जारी है। जैसे मैंने बताया, टेक्निकल टीमें और मशीनरी का मोबिलाइजेशन हुआ है अभी, और लोग भी आए हैं, TSDC से भी लोग आए हैं। तो वो लोग जो है टनल में रास्ता बनाने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं, तो होपफुली हमें सफलता मिलेगी। देखिए, उन्होंने सिग्नल देने की कोशिश की थी, जो अंदर टीम हमारी मौजूद है उनके द्वारा बताया गया कि उधर से सिग्नल दिया गया है। तो इसे ये एक अच्छी खबर भी है कि अब हम काफी उम्मीद करते हैं कि हमें सफलता मिलेगी।
अंदर की सर अभी सर मकिंग चल रहा है, एक्सवेटर और लोडर से मकिंग चल रहा है, हाईवा से निकालते जा रहा है और बाकी सर निकाल रहा है और वो माल गिर रहा है। अभी पता नहीं लगाया जा सकता है कि कितना वो माल गिरा है। अंदाजा लगाया जा सकता है कि 30-35 मीटर के लमसम वो टनल गिरने का अंदाजा है सर। और ये प्रोसेस सुबह करीब 5:30 बजे के लमसम ये घटना हुआ है सर। अंदर करीब 40 से 45 आदमी फंसने का सर। सुरक्षित है? जी सारे सुरक्षित है। क्या कि 4 बजे के लमसम ये वाटर पंप से अंदर से पानी आया है सर। उन लोग पानी ये सामने जो आप देख रहे हैं वो अंदर से मोटर से पानी आता है, तो उन लोग पानी करके इशारा दिया है सर। उससे साफ जाहिर होता है।
Israel at war. The big coverage only on News9 Live. News9 big coverage of 5 assembly polls